Raise your hand if you have been personally victimized by a Scorpio. I'm just kidding, y'all. I love you, Scorpios and Scorpio placements. But we're talking about the Scorpio full moon, which is coming up on this Monday, May 12th, and it's happening at 22 degrees of Scorpio. I'm not going to lie to you guys. This is a full moon that is certainly not messing around, and it is forcing us to look at something deep within ourselves. And if you have planets or points from, I would say 20 to 25 degrees of the fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, or Aquarius, this is definitely going to be hitting you on a more personal level. But the whole collective is going to feel this one because it's a very powerful lunation. Now, it's not a coincidence that I intuitively felt guided to start the video like that, because when we think of Scorpionic energy, it is sometimes portrayed, or Scorpio energy portrays itself as being the victim. So we can, in some way, feel like we are being victimized by this full moon or the energies that it's stirring up within us. I also would like to point out that we have a lot of fixed energy. This is a fixed full moon, fixed water in Scorpio, but there are 6 planets in fixed signs right now. So there is this resistance to change and clinging to things from the past, or, you know, things that are comfortable, to avoid uncomfortable situations. But this full moon is forcing us to be in those uncomfortable situations or deal with those uncomfortable emotions. To me, this full moon spells out explosive tension and unpredictable events unfolding, okay? This full moon is opposite to Uranus. Uranus is closely conjunct to the sun. So the sun will make its final and last conjunction with Uranus in the sign of Taurus for this entirety of Uranus's cycle. But this full moon is trying to projectile vomit us out of the depths of the underworld, or the depths of Hades. It's not easy, it's not comfortable, it's very hostile, very angry, and it's trying to get us to look at things that we have swept under the rug, ignored, buried, and not really came to terms with. And there is this inevitable resistance to looking at these things. There's a resistance to change. There's a resistance to looking at the shadow, or the shadow self, or the shadow of the collective. And there's a resistance to the light that the full moon is trying to shine onto something. We are essentially clinging to something at the expense of our evolution, of our growth. Scorpio is the alchemist. It is basically about death and transformation. It's death and rebirth. We have to have a part of ourselves die in order for a new part of us to be reborn. And yes, this is quite an uncomfortable process, but that is the beauty in Scorpio energy. It is asking us to take the damn trash out that we have piled up in the corner or under the bed, and swept under the bed, or swept under the rug, or swept behind the cabinet, or behind the dresser, that we thought no one would ever notice. Well, those things are starting to smell and starting to really irritate people, and there's this yucky, mucky, dirty energy that needs to be taken care of. We are detoxifying the very bile and waste that has been slowing us down, has been mucking up our energy and our aura. You get the picture. So this energy is opposite to Uranus and Taurus. Now, Uranus is, the ruler of Aquarius. It is about great change, revolution, revelation. It is about disruption and chaos and unpredictable energy, to say the very least. It can be very destabilizing, very shocking, especially in the sign of Taurus. Taurus deals with a lot of things that really ground us into reality, the simple pleasures in life, food production, agriculture, simple comforts, or, what brings us alive sensually with our senses. So there can be disruptions on a very 3D level, or on a very global level, or a very tangible level. So these are disruptions in our everyday life that are affecting us deeply and emotionally. So this is an emotional purge, as well as a disruption to our physical environment in some way. You're going to want to look and see where Scorpio and Taurus are in your chart, which houses are ruled by these signs, of course. The ruler of this full moon is, of course, Pluto. I am an evolutionary and karmic astrologer, so I do look at the modern rulers. So Pluto is still in opposition to Mars. Mars is in Leo after its long retrograde in Cancer. I have plenty of videos on if you want to go check that out. And this is the final passing of Mars opposite to Pluto, but it's still in orb. I think it's a 7-degree orb. So it's, it's a wider orb, but it's still very relevant. It's a very powerful aspect. And this aspect I've talked a lot about in other videos, it brings about a lot of chaos, a lot of anger, hostility, inner tension, shadow aggression, and just the dark side of humanity. And it's trying to teach us something. Pluto is also in square to Mercury. So this is an interesting one because this energy is not a time where you want to have conversations that are very important, be making decisions that are extremely important, or, be talking about or initiating some important conversation that could lead to a disastrous outcome, because this is going to be a time where conflict is going to be at an all-time high, miscommunications, but not just like miscommunications where you're not portraying what you want to portray. It's more so going to be like you're going to get a lot of dark, shadowy, aggressive pushback, like potentially verbal arguments that get more physical or more explosive, or it's just not going to be pretty. So I would put off any important conversations or important decisions, or whatever those things are for you. Try to avoid it. Try to kind of ground your energy, focus on your internal self, your emotional world, what you are working on a personal level, as opposed to involving other people in bigger things. Uranus or Uranian energy can be shocks, but it can also be like epiphanies and revelations. It can be very destabilizing while also like breaking down the things that we need to break down. So it's helping us in a very jolting way. So it can be a bit uncomfortable. It's disruptive to our nervous systems, especially. So just, be aware of that. But if we use this energy at a higher octave, it's helping us to purge. This is an emotional release. It's emotional alchemy. We're alchemizing that dirt, that muck, that bile, those parasitic energies that have been lurking beneath the carpet or beneath the bed or behind the dresser, and helping us to realize that there's an issue that needs to be let go of and purged. The term or the saying, there's no way out but through, really resonates with me for this full moon. I don't know. I'm all about Scorpionic energy. I have heavy Pluto and Scorpio in my chart. So I don't know. That's just what I was born to experience in this lifetime. So I understand it. Those of you that don't have a whole lot of Pluto or Scorpio energy in your chart might not experience Pluto and Scorpio energy the same way that someone else that does. So yeah, this full moon is definitely, to me, it's very beautiful. It's very healing. We need to let go of all of this stuff, because if we don't have this release, then we can't begin anew. We can't go into a new cycle. To me, this is a new cycle that's being born of the collective consciousness. The astrology of the next 2 years is going to start getting crazier and crazier. And there's a lot more going on during this full moon too that I don't really have time to talk about. So maybe I'll make further videos on it. We have Venus, which is conjunct to Neptune. Jupiter is coming into a square with the nodes. It's in 1 degree of a square with the nodes. This full moon is also in conjunct to Jupiter. We have Pluto in square to Black Moon Lilith. This full moon is also conjunct to Juno, I believe. So there's a lot going on. So I'll probably make another video, guys, but I personally love this energy. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be sucked into the fear mongering. Like, there is always going to be light and dark. That is just part of being here in this human experience. So don't be afraid of the dark. We have to experience the dark so that we can experience the light. So much love, y'all. Happy full moon in Scorpio, and stay groovy. Personal readings up at the link in my bio for astrology and tarot. Much love, y'all.